You're a beast hunter, aren't you? I knew it. That's precisely how I started out. Oh, beg pardon. You may call me Alfred, protege of Master Ligurius, hunter of vile bloods. So, what say you? Our prey might differ, but we are hunters, but both why not cooperate and discuss the things we've learned? Oh, very good. Very good indeed. Take this to celebrate our acquaintance. Beast hunting is a sacred practice. May the good blood guide your way. Go on. Just tell me what piques your interest. As you know, the Healing Church is the fountainhead of blood healing. Well, I'm a simple hunter, quite unfamiliar with the ins and outs of the institution. But I have heard that the holy medium of blood healing is venerated in the main cathedral, and that counselors of the old church reside in the high stratum of the cathedral ward. If you seek blood healing, and the church is willing, you should pay them a visit.
Good old Alfred, what a jolly fellow. Who'd have thought he'd turn out to be a murdering psychopath in the end? He is actually voiced by the same actor who voiced Solane in Dark Souls, and I think that leads a lot of people to believe that he'll end up being a good guy. But as most of you probably know, that doesn't turn out to be the case. You can also summon him for the Bloodstarved Beast fight and the Cleric Beast, but obviously we've already gone past that point anyway. So talking about the Healing Church, there's a couple of things that he tells us which are really interesting. First of all, he tells us that the church is the fountainhead of blood healing. So straight away we know that the church is what provides the blood. It comes from them. Where they get it from, it's not actually said. But he does actually indicate something that gives us, kind of a close something to the answer, which is that the holy medium of blood healing is venerated in the main cathedral. Obviously the cathedral is run by the church, and he advises us to go there. What the holy medium is, we don't know. Now, some people think that Vicar Amelia is the holy medium. I don't think that's the case. I think it's probably more likely to be Ebritas, the daughter of the Cosmos, which is one of the optional bosses. Now, interestingly enough, if you carry on talking to Alfred, and we probably will go back to him later on, he does tell you that at one point the Byrgenwerth scholars discovered a holy medium within the tomb. That is really strange because it contradicts something else that we know, that Ebritas was actually discovered by the choir. They went to the East Chalice and they actually found her. Now, obviously the choir was formed after Byrgenwerth, because it was formed by scholars who were actually former students. So that doesn't 100% make sense in my mind, but maybe it turns out that Ebritas is not the holy medium he's talking about. It could be something else, or there could be more than one. The sky and the cosmos are one, the choir. Now, I don't think anyone realised how important and significant that note was the first time they played the game. I definitely didn't. But now that we have the DLC, we know for a fact that the world in Bloodborne is actually stacked. So the different areas in the game, the Hunter's Nightmare, the Dream, the Nightmare Frontier, and so on and so forth, and Yharnam itself, are just different layers of the world that are stacked on top of each other. Okay, we're just going to get the Radiant Sword Hunter badge now. This is what we need to buy fire paper from the Bath Messengers in the Dream, which is going to be really useful when we fight Vicar Amelia in just a moment. But going back to the Healing Church, there's two attire sets that are really interesting because of what they say about the church. The first one is the student set, and what it says basically that the church has its roots in Byrgenwerth, and of course borrows heavily from its uniform design, and that the focus not on knowledge or thought, but on pure pretension would surely bring Master Willem to despair if only he knew. Now the next set that's interesting is the choir set, and that basically says something very similar, that the Healing Church and the scholars continue the work that began at Byrgenwerth, and that the eye covering indicates their debt to the teachings of Master Willem, even though their paths diverged. Now for me, these two sets and the lore in them is actually saying the same thing in two different ways. Both item descriptions are talking about the same thing. They're talking about how certain scholars left Byrgenwerth to start their own method of inquiry. But what did they do that was different from Willem? Willem was a scholar, and a teacher. He was honest and direct about who he was and what he wanted. He was only interested in research, and he did whatever he could that was within his means to learn more about the nature of reality, specifically regarding the Great Ones. Now, let's contrast that with the behaviour of Lawrence and his associates. They could have just, used the old blood, because that's what they really wanted to do. They wanted to imbibe the old blood. They wanted to take it so that they could use that as a method of ascension. But what did they do? Did they actually go and start their own college? Did they start their own lab and start doing research by themselves? No. They went off and started their own religion and used that religion as a tool to actually exploit people, because they didn't want to experiment too much on themselves. They wanted to experiment also on other people. They wanted to have a population that was willing to be their test subjects, and they couldn't just tell people, look, take this blood, it's going to give you it's going to heal you in the short term, but eventually it'll turn you into a beast and you'll end up killing your entire family. They couldn't obviously say that. They had to think of a way in which they could convince people to actually take the blood. And what did they do? They started their own church. Lawrence became the vicar, his associates became the choir, and so on and so forth, in order to actually manipulate people into doing what they wanted. And that's where that line, the focus not on knowledge or thought but on pure pretension, comes in. Because what basically this is saying is the fact that they abandoned not only Willem's methodology, but his, I suppose you'd call it, moral outlook. And that's, I think, what these two law descriptions are trying to tell us. It's not just a difference in method, it's a difference in philosophy and moral imperative. So we're pretty much done with Amelia now. There's not really much I want to say about her anyway. She is, in my opinion, the leader of the church when we get here, when the hunter gets here. She's called Vicar Amelia, and we know for a fact that Lawrence was the first vicar, from the DLC. She's a pretty tough boss though, and it took me, I think, a few tries to finish her off. So the last thing I'm going to do now is have a chat with Ariana, so that later on I can get her third chord, so that I can actually do the final boss. Okay, so if you enjoyed the episode, as usual, like, comment and subscribe. If you've got anything you want to ask me, just go ahead. I'd like to have a chat with you guys if you feel like it. Okay, bye.